The small research ship Starlight Drifter floated in the darkness of space, far from any planet or star that humans had ever named. It was a simple vessel, built for science and exploration, not for war. The ship had no weapons, no armor, and no military training among its crew. It was the kind of ship that nobody would ever notice or remember. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge, drinking cold coffee and watching the stars through the main window. He was a calm man in his late 40s, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 20 years flying cargo ships before taking this job, and he liked the quiet work of exploration. No deadlines, no angry customers, just empty space and interesting rocks. The crew of the Starlight Drifter was small. 10 people in total, 6 scientists, and 4 crew members. They had been out here for 3 months, studying moons and asteroids that no one had ever visited before. It was boring work most of the time, but Morrison preferred boring. Boring meant safe. Amy Price sat at the communications station, running a routine check on the ship's systems. She was young, maybe 25, with short red hair and freckles across her nose. This was her first deep space assignment, and she took her job very seriously. Perhaps too seriously, Morrison sometimes thought. She checked everything 3 times. When once would be enough, the diagnostic program ran through its usual tests. Power systems normal, life support normal, navigation normal, communications normal. Then, the screen flickered. Amy frowned and leaned closer to her display. A warning message appeared. Something about the backup emergency system. The Starlight Drifter was an old ship, and it still carried equipment from the early days of human space travel. Most of that old equipment was supposed to be disconnected, but budget cuts meant some things never got fixed properly. She pressed a button to clear the warning. That was her mistake. The backup emergency broadcast array came to life. It was a system designed decades ago, when humans first started traveling between stars. Back then, ships carried automatic distress beacons that would activate if something went wrong. The beacons would send signals on every frequency, to every direction, hoping that someone would hear and come to help. The old system fired before Amy could stop it. A powerful burst of radio waves shot out from the Starlight Drifter, carrying a standard SOS message. The signal included everything: the ship's name, its location, the number of people on board, and a request for immediate assistance. Amy's face went pale. She slammed her hand on the emergency shutoff, but it was too late. The signal had already left the ship, traveling at faster than light speed through something scientists called subspace. It would reach the nearest human outpost in a few hours. It would also reach places much farther away. Captain Morrison turned in his chair. He had heard the alarm and seen the look on Amy's face. He did not need to ask what happened. The blinking red light on her console told him everything. "How bad?" he asked. Amy swallowed hard. "The signal went out on all frequencies, sir, including the restricted military bands. I tried to stop it, but the old system was faster than me." Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. Sending a false distress signal was serious. Sending one on military frequencies was worse. There would be investigations, paperwork, maybe even fines, but those were problems for later. Right now, he needed to fix what he could. "Can you send a correction? Tell everyone it was a mistake?" Amy nodded and started typing. "I'm trying, sir. But the main communication array is acting strange. The power surge from the old system might have damaged something. On Earth." The signal arrived at Unified Space Command headquarters 6 hours later. It came through on a priority channel, marked as a civilian distress call. Normally, such calls went to the nearest patrol ship for investigation. But this signal had a problem. Admiral Lisa Grant was in her office when her assistant brought her the report. She was a tall woman, with silver hair cut short in military style. She had commanded fleets, won battles, and survived 3 decades of service. Very little surprised her anymore. This surprised her. "The signal bounced," her assistant explained. It hit one of our deep space relays and got amplified. Then it bounced again off an old satellite we forgot to decommission. By the time it stopped bouncing, it had traveled halfway across the galaxy. Admiral Grant looked at the map on her screen. The signal's path was marked in red, showing every relay and satellite it had touched. The final destination made her stomach turn cold. It reached Krath space, she said quietly. Her assistant nodded. Yes, ma'am. The Krath were not friends of humanity. They were not friends of anyone. They came from a world that would kill most other species in minutes. Their planet had gravity twice as strong as Earth, air filled with toxic gases, and predators on every continent. The Krath had evolved to survive all of it. They were strong, fast, and violent. They viewed the galaxy as a hunting ground, and every other species as either prey or competition. Humanity had avoided direct contact with the Krath for decades. Both species knew about each other, but neither had pushed for conflict. The Krath respected strength, and humanity had shown enough strength to make them cautious. But a distress signal was different. To the Krath, a distress signal meant weakness. It meant easy prey. Admiral Grant picked up her communicator and called an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. She had a feeling that the next few days would change everything. 12 light-years away, aboard the Krath flagship Bone Crusher, War Chief Varkoth listened to the intercepted human signal. He was massive even by Krath standards, with gray scaled skin and scars covering half his face. He had led conquest campaigns against 6 different species. None of them existed anymore. The Krath did not waste time. Within hours of receiving the human signal, War Chief Varkoth had assembled the 4th Extermination Fleet. 47 warships gathered in formation around the Bone Crusher, their dark hulls blocking out the light of distant stars. Each ship was built for one purpose: destruction. The Krath did not believe in capture or negotiation. They did not take prisoners or make treaties. When the Krath went to war, they went to erase their enemies completely. It was their way. The only way they understood. Varkoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet prepare for the jump to human space. He was thinking about the signal they had intercepted. A small ship. Only 10 crew members. Sending a cry for help into the void. It was pathetic. It was perfect. His second in command, a younger Krath named Toruk, approached with a datapad. The fleet is ready, War Chief. All ships report full weapons and supplies. We can depart on your order. Varkoth took the datapad and looked at the tactical information. The coordinates from the human signal pointed to an empty region of space, far from any major human settlement. That was good. It meant they could take their time with the prey before moving on to bigger targets. What do we know about human military strength in that sector? Varkoth asked. Toruk pulled up another display. Very little, War Chief. The nearest human outpost is 3 days away, at standard speed. Their patrol ships in that region are small and few. Nothing that could challenge our fleet. Varkoth nodded slowly. The humans had always been careful to keep their distance from Krath territory. They sent diplomats and trade offers, but never warships. Some in the Krath High Command saw this as wisdom. Varkoth saw it as fear. The humans have hidden from us for too long, he said. They pretend to be peaceful, but I have seen their history. They are killers, just like us. The difference is that they pretend to be something else. He handed the datapad back to Toruk. Order the fleet to jump. We will find this little ship and its crew. Then we will see how the humans respond when we start hunting their people. The Krath fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind nothing but empty darkness. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant stood before the Global Defense Council in a secure room deep beneath the surface. The council was made up of 12 people, representing the major nations and organizations of human civilization. They controlled the military, the economy, and the future of the species. Grant had given them the bad news. Now she waited for their response. Council member Derek Shaw spoke first. He was an older man, with white hair and sharp eyes. He had survived 3 different political systems and knew how to make hard decisions. "How long until the Krath fleet reaches the Starlight Drifter?" he asked. 72 hours, Grant replied. "Maybe less, if they push their engines hard." "And our nearest forces?" Grant pulled up a map on the main display. Red dots showed the positions of human military ships across the sector. There were not many, and they were spread thin. "We have 2 patrol frigates within range, but they would arrive after the Krath. Even if they got there first, 2 frigates against 47 warships would be suicide." Another council member, a woman named Patricia Cole, leaned forward. "Can we evacuate the research ship? Get the crew out before the Krath arrive?" Grant shook her head. "Their communication array is damaged. We sent rescue coordinates, but we do not know if they received them. Even if they did, the Starlight Drifter is too slow to escape. The Krath would catch them easily." The room fell quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. 10 civilians were about to die, and there was nothing the regular military could do to stop it. But that was not the real problem. The real problem was what would happen next. If the Krath killed the crew of the Starlight Drifter and humanity did nothing, it would send a message to every species in the galaxy. It would say that humans were weak, that they could not protect their own people. Other predator species would take notice. The Krath would grow bolder. Within a year, human colonies would be under attack from all directions. Derek Shaw cleared his throat. "There is another option," he said carefully. "One that we have discussed before, but never used." 1. The other council members looked at him with a mix of hope and fear. They knew what he was talking about. They had all seen the classified reports. "The Erebus," Shaw continued. "It is ready. It has been ready for years. If there was ever a time to use it, this is that time." Admiral Grant felt a cold weight settle in her chest. The Erebus was humanity's greatest secret. It was a weapon so powerful that most people did not believe it could exist. For 15 years, the best engineers and scientists in human space had worked on it in hidden facilities. They had built something that should not be possible. "If we deploy the Erebus," Grant said slowly, "everyone will know. The Krath will survive to tell others. Every species in the galaxy will learn what we have been building in secret. Some will be afraid. Others will want to destroy us before we become too strong." Shaw nodded. "Yes. But if we do not deploy it, we lose those 10 people on that ship. Then we lose more. Then we lose everything." The council voted. It was not unanimous, but it was enough. The Erebus would fly. Grant returned to her office and opened a secure Chan Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. There was a place that did not appear on any map. Ceres Station was listed as an abandoned mining facility, closed down decades ago when the ore ran out. Ships that came too close were warned away by automated drones. Satellites that passed overhead saw nothing but empty rocks and old machinery. But beneath the surface, something waited. The Erebus had been sleeping for 15 years. It rested in a cavern carved from solid rock, connected to power systems that drew energy from the heart of the asteroid itself. The ship was 3 kilometers long, larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. Its hull was made of materials that did not have names yet, created in laboratories that officially did not exist. Commander Nathan Cole walked through the corridors of his ship, watching his crew prepare for their first real mission. 800 men and women moved with quiet efficiency, checking systems and loading supplies. They had trained together for years, running simulation after simulation. Now they would finally see if all that training was worth anything. Cole stopped at a window and looked out at the cavern walls. In a few minutes, those walls would open, and the Erebus would fly for the first time. He wondered how the galaxy would react when they saw what humanity had created. His first officer, Megan Torres, found him standing there. She was a tall woman, with dark hair, pulled back in a tight braid. She had been with the Erebus project since the beginning, one of the first officers selected for the crew. "All departments report ready, Commander," she said. "Engineering has the main reactor at full power. Weapons systems are online. The AI core is active and waiting for your orders." Cole nodded slowly. "And the crew? How are they feeling?" Torres considered the question. "Nervous," she admitted. "Excited. Most of them never thought this day would come. Some of them hoped it would not. And you?" Torres allowed herself a small smile. "I joined this project because I believed in it. I still do. Whatever happens out there, we are going to show the galaxy who we really are." Cole turned away from the window. "Then, let us not keep them waiting." They walked together to the bridge. A large, circular room at the heart of the ship. Dozens of officers sat at stations, arranged in rings, around the central command platform. Screens covered every wall, showing status reports and tactical displays. At the center of it all was a single chair, empty and waiting. Cole took his seat and looked around at his crew. These were the best people humanity had to offer. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, tacticians. They had given up normal lives to serve on a ship that the rest of the world did not know existed. They deserved to know what they were about to do. "Open a channel to all decks," Cole said. A soft tone indicated that the ship-wide communication system was active. Every person on the Erebus could hear him now. "This is Commander Cole," he began. 15 years ago, the governments of Earth made a decision. They decided that humanity needed a weapon that could protect us from any threat. Not just the threats we knew about, but the threats we could imagine. The threats that kept our leaders awake at night." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We built that weapon. We built the Erebus. And today, for the first time, we are going to use it. A civilian ship is in danger. An alien fleet is coming to kill them. Our regular forces cannot arrive in time. So we are going instead." End quote. Cole looked at the tactical display, where the position of the Krath fleet was marked in red. 47 ships, heading toward 10 innocent people who had done nothing wrong except send a signal by accident. The species we are about to face calls themselves the Krath. They are Deathworlders, evolved on a planet that would kill most of us in minutes. They have never lost a war. They have never shown mercy. They believe that the strong should take what they want and the weak should die. His voice hardened. "Today, we are going to teach them that humans are not weak. We are going to show them what happens when they threaten our people. And we are going to make sure that every species in this galaxy understands one simple truth. Humanity protects its own." Cole ended the transmission and turned to his first officer. "Megan, take us out." The cavern doors began to open, revealing the black emptiness of space beyond. The Erebus powered up its engines, a deep hum that vibrated through the entire ship. Slowly, the massive vessel began to move, sliding out of its hiding place like a predator leaving its den. Once clear of the asteroid field, the Erebus activated its experimental jump drive. This was technology that no other species possessed, a system that could bend space and time to allow faster-than-light travel without the usual limitations. The ship would reach the Krath fleet in hours, not days. As the jump drive powered up, a calm female voice spoke through the bridge speakers. "Good morning, Commander. All systems are operational. I have calculated our course and prepared tactical scenarios for engagement with the Krath fleet. Shall I proceed with the jump?" The voice belonged to Athena. The artificial intelligence that controlled the Starlight Drifter had been drifting for 2 days. Captain Jake Morrison sat on the bridge, watching the same stars he had watched for hours. The ship's main engine was working, but there was nowhere to go. They were too far from any human outpost to reach safety in time. Amy Price had finally fixed the communication array. She had received the message from Earth, the one telling them to hold their position and wait for rescue. But the message did not say what kind of rescue was coming, or when it would arrive. It just said to wait. So they waited. The crew handled the stress in different ways. Some played cards in the common room, Others wrote messages to their families, just in case. The scientists kept working on their research, trying to pretend that everything was normal. Morrison did not blame them. Sometimes, pretending was the only thing you could do. Amy was the first to see them. She was running another scan when her screen lit up with dozens of red markers. Ships. Many ships. And they were not human. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking. "I have contacts on long-range sensors. 47 vessels, coming out of hyperspace. They will be here in 20 minutes. Morrison stood up slowly. He had known this moment was coming. He had hoped it would not, but he had known. "Can you identify them?" Amy nodded. "Krath warships. A full battle fleet." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what the Krath were. Everyone knew what they did to the species they hunted. There would be no negotiation, no surrender, no mercy. The Krath did not believe in those things. Morrison looked around at his crew. These were good people. Scientists and engineers who just wanted to explore the universe. They did not deserve what was about to happen. "Send a message to Earth," he said quietly. "Tell them what we are facing. Tell them we are proud to have served. And tell our families that we love them. I'm see them we for. 2-3. Amy typed the message with tears in her eyes. She sent it into the void, knowing that it would arrive too late to matter. Then, she sat back and waited with the others. The Krath fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a wall of darkness. 47 ships, arranged in a perfect attack formation, their weapons already powered and ready. The Bone Crusher led the formation, War Chief Varkoth standing on its bridge with a smile on his scarred face. He looked at the tiny human ship floating alone in the emptiness. It was even smaller than he had expected. No weapons, no shields, no chance. This would not even be a fight. It would be a harvest. "Open a channel," Varkoth ordered. "Let the prey hear my voice." The communication officer obeyed, and Varkoth spoke to the humans in their own language. He had learned it years ago, believing that one day he would need it. "Humans of the small ship," he said slowly. "I am War Chief Varkoth of the Krath Dominion. You sent a signal into our space. You asked for help. Well, we have come to help you. We will help you die." On the Starlight Drifter, Morrison heard the message and felt cold fear wash over him. He had faced danger before, but nothing like this. The Krath were not just going to kill them, they were going to enjoy it. Varkoth continued speaking. "We will board your ship soon. We prefer to hunt our prey in person. It is more satisfying that way. You may run if you wish. You may hide. It will not matter. In the end, you will all die screaming." The channel closed. On the Bone Crusher, Varkoth turned to his officers. "Prepare boarding parties. I want the humans alive when we find them. Dead prey is no fun at all." His officers began giving orders. Shuttles powered up in the launch bays. Krath warriors checked their weapons and armor. The hunt was about to begin. Then space tore open. A hole appeared between the Starlight Drifter and the Krath fleet, a wound in reality that pulsed with strange energy. Something came through, something so large that it blocked out the stars behind it. The Krath sensors went crazy, trying to understand what they were seeing. The Erebus emerged from the jump point and stopped. It did not move, did not turn. It simply existed. A wall of black metal and hidden weapons that dwarfed every Krath ship in the fleet. On the Bone Crusher, Varkoth stared at his display in shock. The human ship was 3 kilometers long. His flagship was barely 500 meters. He had never seen anything so large, not in all his years of conquest. "What is that?" he demanded. His officers had no answer. Their sensors could not penetrate the strange hull. Their computers could not identify the design. It was as if the ship had appeared from nowhere, built by hands that did not exist. A communication signal came through. A human voice, calm and cold. "Krath Fleet. This is Commander Nathan Cole of the human vessel Erebus. You have entered space under our protection. You have threatened civilians under our care. I am giving you one chance to withdraw." Varkoth found his voice. "You dare threaten me? I am War Chief Varkoth. I have destroyed entire species. One ship, no matter how large, cannot defeat my fleet." There was a pause before Cole replied. "You answered a distress call. That was not meant for you. You came here to kill innocent people. This is your only warning. Turn around now, and we will forget this happened. Stay, and you will learn why humans are not prey." Varkoth felt something he had not felt in many years. Doubt. The human spoke with such confidence, such certainty, as if the outcome of this confrontation was already decided. But Varkoth was Krath. He had never retreated. He had never shown weakness. To do so now would end his career, his reputation, his life. The only way forward was through. "All ships," he ordered. "Attack." The Krath fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Erebus, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The humans would learn that size alone could not win a battle. The weapons hit the Erebus, and nothing happened. The ship's shields absorbed everything. Not a single shot got through. The massive hull did. The battle lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. In that time, the galaxy changed forever. The Erebus did not fight like any ship the Krath had ever seen. It did not dodge or weave, or try to avoid their weapons. It simply stood in place and killed them, one ship at a time, with terrible precision. The first weapon to fire was something the humans called a quantum disruption torpedo. It did not fly through space like a normal missile. It simply appeared inside a Krath destroyer, passing through the shields as if they did not exist. Then it exploded, tearing the ship apart from the inside. The crew never knew what hit them. War Chief Varkoth watched the destroyer vanish from his tactical display. Then, another ship disappeared. Then, 3 more. The quantum torpedoes were hitting targets across the fleet simultaneously, guided by Athena's calculations. Each one was a guaranteed kill. "Return fire!" Varkoth screamed. "Everything we have." The Krath fleet unleashed its full arsenal. Plasma cannons, particle beams, nuclear missiles, everything. The space between the fleets filled with deadly light, and the Erebus simply absorbed it all. The human shields did not even flicker. Then came the graviton cannons. First Officer Megan Torres watched her display as the Erebus brought its main weapons online. Graviton technology was supposed to be impossible. The energy requirements alone should have drained a planet. But human scientists had found a way to make it work, drawing power from contained singularities deep in the ship's core. The graviton beam hit a Krath cruiser. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the ship began to collapse. Its hull crumpled inward, metal and machinery compressed by invisible force. Within seconds, the entire vessel was crushed into a ball of scrap no larger than a house. The crew inside did not have time to scream. Varkoth felt true fear for the first time in his life. His ships were being destroyed by weapons he could not understand, controlled by an enemy he could not hurt. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were conducting an execution. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. "Get us out of here." But it was too late for most of them. Athena had predicted this moment and prepared accordingly. Jump drives across the Krath fleet failed as the Erebus broadcast a disruption signal, blocking their escape routes. The hunters had become the hunted, and there was nowhere to run. The killing continued. Quantum torpedoes phased through hulls. Graviton beams crushed destroyers like empty cans. Point defense systems on the Erebus shot down incoming missiles before they could travel 100 meters. It was not a battle. It was a demonstration. On the bridge of the Starlight Drifter, Captain Morrison and his crew watched in stunned silence. They had been prepared to die. They had made peace with the end. And then this impossible ship had appeared and started destroying their enemies like they were nothing. Amy Price was crying, but not from fear. from relief, from hope, from the overwhelming realization that they were going to live. After 4 minutes and 17 seconds, it was over. 39 Krath warships were debris, scattered across millions of kilometers of space. The remaining 8 ships, including the Bone Crusher, drifted powerless. Athena had deliberately disabled them instead of destroying them, leaving their crews alive but helpless. Commander Cole stood up from his chair. His face showed no emotion, no satisfaction, no regret. He had done what needed to be done. Now came the harder part. "Prepare a boarding party," he said. "I am going to have a conversation with the war chief." Torres looked concerned. "Commander, is that wise?" "The Krath are dangerous even when defeated," Cole nodded. "I know. But killing them is not enough. They need to understand why this happened. And they need to carry a message back to their people." The shuttle crossed the distance between the Erebus and the Bone Crusher in minutes. Cole brought 20 soldiers with him, all wearing power armor that made them nearly as strong as the Krath themselves. They boarded through an emergency airlock, cutting through the damaged hull with plasma torches. The inside of the Krath ship was dark and filled with smoke. Bodies lay in the corridors, killed by explosive decompression, when the Erebus had targeted specific sections of the hull. The survivors were gathered on the bridge, wounded and defeated. Cole found Varkoth standing in the center of the command room, surrounded by his remaining officers. The war chief was injured, with green blood running down the side of his face. But he refused to sit or show weakness. Even in defeat, his pride would not let him bend. "Human," Varkoth said. "You have won this battle, but you have not won the war. My people will come for you. 100 fleets, 1,000 ships. We will burn your worlds and feast on your bones." Cole walked closer, showing no fear. His soldiers kept their weapons raised, ready for any threat. "Your people will do nothing," Cole said calmly. "You are going to describe every weapon we used, every ship we destroyed, every moment of this battle, and then you are going to give them a warning." Varkoth growled deep in his chest. "What warning?" Cole looked the war chief directly in his eyes. "Humans evolved on a world where we were not the strongest creatures. We were not the fastest. We were not the deadliest. Every day, we had to survive against predators that could tear us apart. Do you know how we did it?" The Krath said nothing. "We thought," Cole continued. "We planned. We built. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. While other species evolved bigger claws and sharper teeth, we evolved bigger brains. And then we used those brains to build claws and teeth of our own." He gestured toward the viewport, where the wreckage of the Krath fleet floated in the darkness. "This ship, the Erebus, is what happens when humans decide to build a predator. We did not do it because we wanted to conquer anyone. We did it because we knew that someday something would come to hunt us, and we wanted to be ready." Cole stepped back. "Go home, war chief. Tell your people what you saw today. Tell them that the Erebus escorted the Starlight Drifter back to human space. The journey took 2 days at normal speed, because Commander Cole wanted to give the civilians time to rest and recover from their experience. He also wanted to make sure the remaining Krath ships made it safely back to their own territory. Some of his officers questioned that decision. The Krath had come to kill innocent people. Why should humanity show them any kindness? Cole had a simple answer. Because we are not them. We do not kill defeated enemies. We do not hunt the weak. If we become like them, then what was the point of fighting at all? Captain Morrison came aboard the Erebus for a private meeting with Cole. The 2 men sat in the commander's office, drinking coffee and talking like old friends even though they had just met. Morrison wanted to apologize. He felt responsible for everything that had happened. His ship, his crew, his accident. 10 people had nearly died because of a broken communication system and a young officer who pressed the wrong button. Cole stopped him before he could finish. "Captain, you did nothing wrong. Your ship had a malfunction. Your officer tried to fix it. These things happen. especially on older vessels with outdated equipment. If anything, you should be thanking Amy Price. Morrison looked confused. Thanking her? Why? Cole leaned back in his chair. Because her accident revealed a problem we did not know we had. That old emergency broadcast system was installed on hundreds of civilian ships. Any one of them could have sent a signal to the Krath. Any one of them could have started this situation. Now we know about the vulnerability. We can fix it before it happens again. He smiled slightly. Miss Price might have saved more lives with her mistake than most people save in their entire careers. Morrison thought about that for a long moment. Then he nodded. I will tell her. I think she needs to hear it. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant watched the reports come in from deep space. The Erebus had succeeded beyond her hopes. The Krath were retreating. The civilians were safe. And the galaxy now knew that humanity was not to be taken lightly. But she knew the hard part was just beginning. Word of the battle spread quickly. Other species had been monitoring the situation, watching to see what would happen when the Krath attacked human space. Now they knew. Now everyone knew. Some species reacted with fear. They saw the Erebus as a threat, a weapon that could destroy entire fleets. They called emergency meetings and demanded answers. How long had humans been hiding this technology? What else were they building in secret? Could they be trusted? Other species reacted with respect. They had lived in fear of the Krath for generations. Now someone had finally stood up to the hunters and won. Trade offers started arriving within days. Alliance proposals followed soon after. Humanity had proved itself. And other species wanted to be on their good side. The Krath themselves went quiet. War Chief Varkoth returned home and delivered his message to the High Command. He told them everything. The weapons that ignored shields, the beams that crushed ships like toys, the human commander who showed no fear. He warned them that attacking humanity again would be suicide. Some Krath leaders refused to believe it. They sent spies to gather intelligence. They built new weapons and trained new warriors. But they did not attack. Not yet. Not until they understood what they were facing. Cole brought the Erebus back to its hidden berth in the asteroid belt. The ship settled into its dock, and the crew began the long process of maintenance and repair. They had proved themselves in battle. Now they would wait, ready for the next time someone threatened human lives. Before the crew dispersed, Cole called them together one last time. 800 men and women gathered in the main hangar, standing among the machines and vehicles that made the Erebus such a deadly weapon. Cole stood on a platform above them, looking out at the faces of the people who had trusted him with their lives. What we did out there, he said, was not about glory. It was not about conquest. It was about protection. 10 people were in danger, and we saved them. That is what the Erebus was built for. That is what we trained for. And that is what we will do again, if we are called. He paused, letting his words settle. But I hope we are never called again. I hope this ship spends the rest of its existence gathering dust in this asteroid. Because the best weapon is one that never has to be used. The best victory is one that happens without a single shot being fired. The crew nodded. They understood. They were warriors. But they did not love war. They would fight when necessary, but they would pray for peace. Amy Price was promoted and transferred to a new position at Unified Space Command. Her mistake had become a blessing, and the leadership wanted to make sure she knew it. She spent the rest of her career helping to upgrade communication systems across the fleet, making sure that no other ship would ever send a signal to the wrong place. Captain Morrison retired from exploration and took a teaching position at the academy. He taught young officers about the dangers of deep space and the importance of being prepared for anything. He also taught them about the Erebus and the crew who had saved his life. He wanted future generations to understand what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. Admiral Grant continued to lead Unified Space Command for another decade. She oversaw the construction of 3 more ships like the Erebus, though none of them were ever deployed in combat. The threat alone was enough to keep the peace, and somewhere in the asteroid belt, the Erebus waited. Its lights dimmed, its crew dispersed, its weapons cold and silent. But it was ready. It would always be ready, because humanity had learned an important lesson. The galaxy was full of predators, full of species that believed the strong should rule and the weak should die. For millions of years, humans had been the weak ones. They had survived by thinking, by building, by refusing to give up. Now they were something else. Now they were the species that predators feared. Not because humans wanted to hurt anyone, but because they would protect their own no matter the cost. The Krath had called them prey. They had been wrong. Some prey bites back, and humanity had the sharpest teeth of all. Humanity does not want war. We want to trade, to explore, to live in peace. But if anyone threatens our people, we will respond, and we will not stop until the threat is ended. Varkoth stared at the human for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. I will deliver your message, he said. But know this. The Krath, do not forget. One day, we will test you again. Cole smiled, cold and hard. Not even shake. On the bridge of the Bone Crusher, Varkoth watched in disbelief as his fleet's entire opening barrage simply vanished against an invisible barrier. Then Athena spoke through the Erebus communication system, her voice reaching every ship in both fleets. Threat assessment complete. 47 hostile vessels identified. Calculating optimal response. Commander Cole leaned forward in his chair. Respond. The Erebus began to fire. The Erebus. She was not just a computer program. She was a thinking, learning entity, capable of processing more information in a second than a human could handle in a lifetime. In battle, she would coordinate weapons, shields, and maneuvering with perfect precision. Proceed, Cole ordered. Space twisted around the Erebus. Stars stretched into lines of light. And then the ship was gone, racing toward a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever. In the silence of the bridge, Torres spoke quietly. Do you think the Krath know what is coming for them? Cole shook his head. No. They think they are the hunters. They have no idea that we have been preparing for something like this for 15 years. He looked at the countdown timer on his display. In 8 hours, the Erebus would arrive at the coordinates where the Starlight Drifter waited, surrounded by enemies. They wanted to hunt humans, Cole said. They are about to learn why that was a mistake. To a location that did not officially exist. A face appeared on her screen. A man in his 40s, with dark hair and calm gray eyes. Commander Cole, Grant said, I am authorizing full deployment of the Erebus. Your mission is to intercept the Krath fleet, rescue the civilian vessel, and demonstrate to the enemy what happens when they threaten human lives. Commander Nathan Cole showed no emotion. He had trained for this moment for over a decade. He and his crew had run thousands of simulations, preparing for a day that some hoped would never come. Understood, Admiral, he replied. We will be underway within the hour. The Krath will receive our message clearly. Grant ended the call and sat back in her chair. She had just started something that could not be undone. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been hiding a monster. She only hoped it would be enough. The signal played again through the ship's speakers. A human voice, asking for help, giving coordinates, admitting weakness. Varkoth smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He had been waiting for an excuse to test the humans. Now they had given him one. He turned to his communications officer. Send word to the 4th Extermination Fleet. We hunt. Back on the Starlight Drifter, Captain Morrison and his crew had no idea what they had started. Amy Price worked through the night, trying to fix the communication array. She managed to send a correction message eventually. But it was too late. The damage was done. The signal had reached the wrong ears, and something was coming.